Cakewalk. 1 year after outbreak. 06:10 a.m. "Hey, Sarge, we have trouble." The crew chief moved away from the open helicopter door and tapped the big sergeant on the knee. The tired NCO grabbed the slung M4 rifle in a gloved hand and slid over to where the chief was pointing outside the aircraft. Far below them was a huge custom recreational vehicle that appeared to be towing a trailer behind it. The sergeant could see the RV's front tire was flat. To the helicopter crew, it looked like the driver had pulled off into the empty parking lot of a long-abandoned Walmart to fix it. The problem with that was the huge crowd of deaders that were now swarming the big vehicle trying to force their way inside. To the former Air Force sergeant, it looked like the flesh eaters had stumbled out of the store and over to the motorhome. At least a dozen of the skin bags were gathered in a circle around the front of the RV and appeared to be savagely gobbling up the remains of one of the vehicle's occupants. "Where the hell are we?" the sergeant asked. "Series." "Fuck is that?" The sergeant frowned, trying to wake up from his combat nap. The other man just shrugged in response. "Guess we better wake the LT. Tell the pilots to hover for a minute." "Good luck," the crew chief smirked as he slid back over to the minigun by the open door. "He'll be okay. The most he'll get is a spray and pray." "Lieutenant Uribe." The muscular sergeant shook the officer awake with a gloved hand. "Lieutenant." "Sergeant Hale?" The younger officer slowly opened one eye and carefully sat up in his net seat. He adjusted his helmet, all bleary-eyed, and glanced around the fuselage of the helicopter. "We back at camp yet?" Uribe was wiping some caked drool from his mouth. "No, sir. We have civilians below that need our help." "Sergeant," the officer wiped his eyes, "we have orders to report back to Camp FedEx. If some civilians have their asses in a ringer, that's just too bad." The lieutenant noticed the aircraft wasn't moving forward. "Are we hovering?" "Yes," the sergeant nodded. "I had the pilots hold up. We have a motorhome below surrounded by deaders." "Well, crap." Uribe glanced at the other 4 soldiers that were under his command. They all looked tired and beat up, but ready to go. "How about we send some rounds their way and give them a chance to break for safety?" "To where, sir?" Hale asked. "Their vehicle is obviously disabled, and this town is full of meat sacks." "We shoot at those fuckers, sir," Specialist Jose Speedy Gonzalez interrupted. "It'll only draw in more." "What do you guys suggest?" Uribe yawned and slid his helmet further back on his head. The team had been out on a supply run, and no one had slept for 24 hours. "The deaders are too close to the motorhome to risk turning it into Swiss cheese. Drop Doc and me away from them, and we'll bring the fuckers in towards us." "Can't we just drop down on top?" a red-haired soldier asked as she pulled out her iPod earplugs and leaned in closer to the sergeant. "Too many skin bags down there. They might push the motorhome over, and that would be very bad. As soon as we get the meat sacks clear, you hover and rope down on the top. Pull the civilians out through the roof hatch," Hale told her, as he grabbed several pre-loaded ammo magazines out of a black canvas bag and quickly shoved them into his tack vest pouches. "Then what do we do with them?" Uribe scratched his mop of black hair. The sergeant had only worked with the new lieutenant a few times. Not the brightest, but he was usually able to manipulate him into making the right decision. "We dropped them off at the aid station." Hale slapped him roughly on the side of his arm and tossed the ammo bag to Doc. "You'll be a big hero, LT." All right. Uribe tapped on his headset and gave the pilots the order to move the helicopter away from the besieged motorhome.